Last night when I came home, I wanted to play Rita's Rewind on the Nintendo Switch to find out my system needed an update. Yes, and I started scratching my head. A system update at this point? I mean, geez, Nintendo, the Switch 2 is coming out in about a month. So I downloaded it and I want to see what was new, and I found this information online to share with you guys. So if you haven't updated your Switch, you need to do so for a few different reasons. I'll show you right now. So when you update it, you get virtual game cards. We all know this is for DLCs and the games that you downloaded from the eShop. Very cool, very easy. This also is for, letting your family members borrow your games on your Switch to their Switches, as long as they're both updated and you're on a family plan, I believe it was. Next one is Game Share. Now that one is kind of a weird one to me because you have to have a Switch 2 to Game Share with all the other types of Switches, OLED, Switch Lite, the original Switch, or it won't work. You can't just, game share with OLED to OLED or OLED to the light. It won't work. You have to have a Nintendo Switch 2 to do it. Let's scroll up a little bit. So as you can see, the Nintendo eShop and the Nintendo news icons have changed color. Not a big deal, but there is one update that is here that is important if you're buying a Switch 2 and you want to trade in your old Switch, but you don't want to lose your data. There's two ways to do it. One, if you trade it in now and you didn't have this update, I feel sorry for you guys, but we're going to get into it a little bit more. But it's a way to transfer your games without having the Switch 2 yet. We're going to do that here in a minute to show you. So let's hop over to the Switch. Okay, now that we're on the Switch, let's take a look at these new icons. As you can see, the news is green and the eShop one is still red in my opinion, but I think it was orange before. But nothing's really changed on these. There's still the news. And yes, I have some in Japanese because I have, bought some old-fashioned Japanese imported games and had some DLCs. And you know what? Sometimes you just need to have a Japanese account to get those DLCs. And of course, the eShop is just red now instead of orange. Not a big deal. I bet you it's the same one, but I'm not going to get into it. Now we have Game Share. Now here we go. Here's a question for you guys. I'm going to put down the controller and ask this question. Do you think Mario Kart World will be able to game share to an OLED? Because yes, in handheld mode on the Nintendo Switch 2 is 1080p. If you have a docked OLED, it is 1080p. Could it actually work? I know the frame rate is going to be different, but I think it still could work. Let me know in the comments what you think. But unfortunately, I really wish you can do game sharing, with the OLED to OLED, OLED to Switch, OLED to Switch Lite or something. But I know you can't. If you read the updates, you can't do that. And it really sucks. So I really can't do much here to show you guys anything. So let's move on. Game cards. Now this one is kind of impressive to me. I love what they did here. So if we go to game cards, and let's just load up what I was going to play last night, Rita's Rewind. Load on this system. I love this animation they added. That was cool. Now, let's say you want to unload it. You go back to the game share, and you go back to Rita's Rewind, or whatever game you put in. You go down to Options, and you go eject the game from the system. And now, my big question to Nintendo, and I'll ask you guys because maybe you're more understanding of how this works. Does it save memory space or system space on your system? Because if you're ejecting a game, in my opinion, is it in the cloud? Is it still on your system? Where is this game that you just literally took out of your system? Did it keep the whole game on your system now, or is it outside of your system like a physical cartridge? Because I know I can lend this game out to my son on his Switch if he wants to play it. And that's kind of cool because I know he probably does. There's a few games I have that I think he wants to play, but unfortunately, he doesn't own them. But now I can share these games with him, and I think that's very cool. Now, the next one is the big topic. Taking your Switch 1 and all your data to the Switch 2 before having the Switch 2 in your hands. Now, fair warning, when you do this, it will factory reset your system. So be prepared to have no more games or anything on this Nintendo Switch. Now, what is the plus side about this? Well, one, you can do this and, have your pre-order lowered in cost because you can give your Switch OLED, whatever Switch you have, to GameStop or whatever company it is that will give you discounts for this. And that's a plus. But overall, The other plus is, say you just want to give the Switch to somebody else, but don't want to have your data there because you're getting the Switch too. Well, there you go. There's a reason for it right there. So let me get into this a little bit. So the first thing we need to do to get into this a little bit is click System Settings. All the way down to the very bottom here is called Systems, as you guys know. Go all the way down to the bottom here is System Transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. And we click on that. We click Next. Click OK. And because I don't have a Switch 2, and neither did anybody else at this moment in time, because it hasn't come out in our hands yet, we go, I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2. We click this, and I'm going to stop right here because I'm not going to go any farther because I'm not doing this. But basically, you said next, and it will take all your data to the cloud, to a Nintendo server somewhere in the United States, maybe somewhere in Japan. We don't know where these servers are at. And can you trust this at the moment? Well, I don't see why not, because Nintendo ain't gonna do anything to you, but you have to have a, My Nintendo account anyways. So I'm pretty sure it has a little space with your name on it. Say whatever your name is on this, and it's in the cloud. And when you get a Nintendo Switch 2, you can probably just straight out download it. Remember, your Nintendo Switch 2 has to be fully updated, or it won't work. And that becomes another point. The Nintendo Switch 2 already has its own update already. And you can't use the micro SD card, I guess, until you update the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I've had this happen to me with a few other consoles that I bought in where you buy the console and it has updates. I believe that was an Xbox that happened to me at one point, but not a big deal because that just means I'm fixing bugs before it's even in hand, and I think that's awesome. And you guys should think that's awesome too, because that means Nintendo's already helping us, the consumer, have less issues with their new Nintendo Switch 2. So that is the new firmware update. That's how you can transfer your game system, your whole Nintendo Switch to the Nintendo Switch 2. And like I said, I'm not getting rid of my OLED, so I will probably never do this. Because if I want to play Power Rangers Rita's Rewind on my Nintendo Switch 2, I'll just lend it to myself on the Nintendo Switch 2. If I want to, because I can theoretically add my own Nintendo Switch account to the Switch 2. I don't see why you can't do that. You just won't have any of your games or any of your save data on there. That's the only difference. So if you don't want to transfer your stuff because you want to keep your OLED or you want to keep your Switch 2, your Switch Lite, here you go. You have two Switches in your house now. You can game share. You can have your kids playing one and you play the Switch 2 as you guys can game share each other that way. Man, I think Nintendo did an awesome update here. I haven't seen a good update like this in a long time. I like the new icons. I love the color green. So having a green icon for the news is awesome. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are you guys going to, transfer all your data over to the cloud? Are you going to wait till you get a Switch 2? Are you going to keep your original Switch? Leave all these comments down below and let me know. And I will catch you next time. And you might like this video right here. Peace.